Welcome to Top Story. Today I have the pleasure of speaking with Crylene Duck from the Hope Alliance, but also from Victim Services. So you do a lot of community-based work involving kind of a topic that's come to light recently, I'd say more so than in the past, sexual and domestic violence. How are you doing today?
Good.
Good. It's a dark topic, but you know, thought I'd toss in how are you? So the Hope Alliance, that's what we're here to talk about today. Health opportunities and preventing exploitation. Can you tell me a little bit about it?
The Hope Alliance started in 2015. It's actually a collaboration between the Sault Ste. Marie City Police and John Howard Society. It was kind of a response to, I guess, recognizing that the style of policing wasn't effective when targeting people who were in sex work or human trafficking or being trafficked. I guess because the arresting people wasn't effective, right?
There needs to be a more empathetic approach almost.
Yeah. So as a result, they changed the style of policing so they're not criminalizing the person who is already in a vulnerable situation.
Right.
So
is it a group of organizations working together? That's what the Hope Alliance is?
Yeah.
Okay. And what are some of the services offered through those organizations?
So there are over 30 community organizations that make up
it's quite a network.
Yeah. So and so because it is there's so much stigma in relation to all this stuff, there's a person designated from each agency that we can refer to or reach out to reduce the amount of visibility, I guess, or the amount of negative attention that person is going to get from receiving services.
Right.
So it's anywhere from, we have a comprehensive crisis response, or legal services, healthcare services, Indigenous services, child welfare services. It's
coming at it from all corners.
It's a wraparound approach, yeah.
So one of the things that you mentioned to me that the Hope Alliance takes part in, and I didn't know that this existed, so I found it really interesting, and I want you to teach me about it, is Outreach Night.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what that is?
So every month we encourage everyone to come out. It's a community thing. It's part of the agencies from Hope Alliance. We get together. It's run out of the Resource Center on Gore Street, and that's sort of a home base where all the agencies, a person can access all the services from one location.
Right.
So we start there and we just do a community walk. We talk to people in the neighborhood. We have harm reduction supplies. You can have coffee. We just chat with them to make sure everyone's okay, see how they're doing, so that they know that there's people in the community that care about them, that see them, and you know, they know where to go if they see a familiar face if they do require services.
So now when we're talking about this, like you might talk to somebody who is a sex worker and ask them if they're okay, and they say, I'm great. This is, you know, I'm choosing to do this, and like, don't worry about me, kind of thing. And but then you probably also interact with people who are in a situation where they're being coerced. Absolutely. Now, how do you determine or distinguish people who are maybe being trafficked, or at the very least coerced into exploiting themselves, versus people who are willingly, openly, freely doing sex work? It's kind of, there has to be a gray area that
there is, yeah, for sure. So being coerced into sex work is trafficking. There doesn't necessarily have to be violence involved. The coercion or threats of violence even
is considered
trafficking if it's against a person's will. It's having the control over another person for the purpose of exploiting them, essentially. So, I guess some signs would be if they have a partner or a boyfriend or whatever that is controlling, if they seem submissive, if they have signs of physical abuse, things like that. And I guess you can tell with their demeanor sort of thing. It depends on how well you know the person too, right?
Right.
So, and then on the flip side too, a person who is independently in a sex worker, it's there's no real way for you to tell whether that person is being trafficked. If you just see someone working on the street, say, you don't know if there's someone parked down the street or watching from a window or on the other side of town that they have to check in with. That if they don't make their quota, there's going to be violence when they get home or something like that, right? There's no way to tell, so we don't judge someone that you don't know. So, and then also because people who are doing sex work, there are very few that aren't led into it because of poverty, homelessness, addiction. So you don't want to kick someone that's already down, so to speak.
So that kind of brings me to my next question, because I imagine in a lot of situations, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you might talk to somebody that doesn't think they were coerced or doesn't think that they're being trafficked or exploited, but they are. So how do you approach that kind of situation?
So childhood sexual abuse is a huge precursor to being further exploited.
Okay.
Especially when people have been trafficked or are being trafficked. It's huge. It's a big thing. So it's not my role to tell someone that they're being trafficked.
Right.
I will approach them from what their needs are. So oftentimes, like you said, they may not recognize that they're being exploited.
Or it's not in the most traditional sense.
Yeah, because maybe they have history of abuse, or they just are surviving. They need to survive.
Put food on the table or whatever.
So, or I mean, they don't recognize it as being exploited because they have to put that aside to live their daily life.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it's not my role, like I said, to tell them that. I want to address what their needs are. And if their needs are, you know, they need a pair of boots, or they need food, or they need a cell phone for safety, or it just depends on what they need. I can speak to our program at Victim Services in relation to that, because we've got a separate pot of funding that is specific to help those needs, because they're different from the needs of intimate partner violence or sexual assault.
Right.
It's far more complicated, and it often takes people several tries before they can actually leave the situation that they're in. Some people have been branded, so we can do tattoo removal, that kind of thing. Yeah, for sure. They may not have been able to see a dentist. We can cover some dentists. And I mean, there's parameters to the program too. Not every person's eligible for everything, right?
Right.
And I mean, replacing government documents, because that's a means of control too.
Yeah.
Addiction is a means to control. So we can set people up with treatment centers across Ontario too.
So when we're talking about, that you raised an interesting point, and now I'm losing it, but hopefully it comes back to me. I'll ask my next question while hopefully that marinates and comes back. What are some of the most common, I remembered my questions. You talked about the Neighborhood Resource Center, sorry, I'm all over the place. Okay. It's so much information. And how you kind of operate these agencies through there.
Yep.
Is that a safe space for sex workers to go to get harm reduction tools? Is that are they welcome there?
Yes, and you know, I have clients that call me from there. I meet them from there. They work with my colleagues. That you know, I try to be there once a week, depending on my schedule because it's busy. But there's other agencies there too that I know that work with that population, with that community. So I think taking the first step, and I mean, if you talk to one, you don't have to talk to every person there, right? But if you can find one safe person, they will refer you to the other agencies of Hope Alliance, to that one person, the contact. So you're not telling your story over again.
Right.
If you need to contact, you know, XYZ organization, then we can give you the person rather than telling your story over again, right?
So there are organizations in the Sault that care.
Yes.
What about sex workers who are afraid of the police, and then that's deterring them from going to the Neighborhood Resource Center? What would you say to someone who might be in that situation?
That's a really good point that you brought up. So it's not illegal, so you don't have to worry about legal consequences of going in, and you don't necessarily have to talk to the police officer at the resource center either. So if you choose to pursue that, then the person is there. If you choose not to, like for example with Victim Services, we do not have to talk to police if you are being sexually exploited or are being trafficked, or you just need help, maybe you sexually assaulted, being in that line of work or whatever. We don't need to involve police, so they can
totally
contact.
A choice.
Yeah. If they choose, if they want us to talk to the police, then we will. But we don't have any obligation to report to police unless it's a child, obviously, you
of
know,
course.
stuff like that.
Right.
But yeah, because oftentimes it can be more dangerous for a person who's being trafficked to go to the police, to notify authorities.
So complicated.
Yeah.
So before we go, I just wanted to kind of ask you, if you were talking to somebody right now, or there's someone who's watching that might be in this situation, what would you recommend that they do immediately in order to get the help that they need?
Access whatever help is available to them first, I guess. You just have to say it to the right person, I guess, to get the word out, or contact victim services, contact any of the members of Hope Alliance, go to the resource center, grab a cup of coffee. There's people there that want to help.
So
there's
the
people there
resources
that
are here.
care, yes.
So Hope Alliance, Neighborhood Resource Center, Victim Services, they're all there, and there's many more, that's just off the top of my head, many more agencies locally in the Sault that care about sex workers and about the human trafficking issue in the Sault, which is an unfortunate reality. Stay tuned, thank you so much for joining us on Top Story, and stay tuned for more Top Story coming up after this.